On this week's episode of A Dryer Dose of Disney, Jared reviews the Disney shows and shares with us the most important ones to see.
Welcome to this week's episode of A Dryer Dose of Disney. I'm your host, Jared Dryer, and today we are going to be talking about the live action shows at all the Disney parks in Orlando. And if you have not seen the live action shows at the Disney parks, they are incredible. We're going to review them for you. We're going to rank them actually and talk about the best ones to see to make sure that you don't miss those, as well as the ones that are good. But if you needed to miss them in the interest of time, you totally could. Now, before we dive into this, I want us to be real honest. I want us to go back in time to the last trip that you had to a Disney park. And my question for you is, did you watch any of the shows? And I know for a lot of people, they don't. They spend their whole day waiting in line, trying to go on rides. And I want to tell you that some of these shows are totally worth the time, and you should stop your day to go check them out, especially in Orlando, which is what we're going to be covering today. Because in Orlando, as you know, throughout the year, it can get very warm there. And sometimes you get some AC, you get a chance to relax. Your kids get a chance to take a quick little break, but you're going to see an amazing show. So we're going to talk through those shows and why you should go see them. And like I said, we're going to rank them. So we're going to have a lot of fun. Now, when we go through these shows, there are some things that we decided to omit on this list. So for example, when you go to Hollywood Studios, you can go and duel Darth Vader with the lightsabers, the little kids can, and it's more of a character meet and greet. We're not going to count that as a show. That's more of a character meet and greet than anything else. And as well as Hollywood Studios, they also have Lightning McQueen. You can go see Lightning McQueen, go take a picture. That's not a show. We also excluded all of the parades. The parades are all really cool, and I do highly encourage you to check out the parades, but they do change very often. You're always going to get something different. So for us to review them becomes a little bit more difficult. And so I'll leave it up to you. Just know that the parades are all a lot of fun. Go check them out. I highly recommend it. Also, as we go through this list today, there are some new omissions. You may think when I went to the park, hey, that was a really cool show. It may be gone. And in fact, the most recent victim over there is the Little Mermaid show at Hollywood Studios, which was back behind Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. They just closed that due to a mold issue in the building. They're going to scrap it, and they're going to rebuild something else there. The Little Mermaid movie show was really cool. It was obviously the video screen was going, but then they had lasers, they had bubbles, they had all kinds of things that happened in the theater. So that one was a lot of fun, but that's not going to be on our list today. But before we dive into our ranking and talking about these shows, what I want to do is I do want to ask wherever you're listening to us, go ahead and click pause, click that subscribe button. That way you're going to get this content delivered to you each week. And if you find a tip or trick that saves you money or time, please support us over at Patreon. It's supporters like you that keep this podcast going, and we do appreciate our supporters so much. And if you subscribe through Patreon, you're going to get a whole bunch of other cool perks as well as early access to episodes and maybe some merchandise and whatnot. We're always going to be changing those up for you. But we do appreciate those that support us at Patreon because, like I said, you keep this podcast going. So thank you for the support there. We hope that we're delivering you valuable content as well, and that we're saving you some time and energy at the parks. And that's why we do this. So with that, we're going to go ahead and dive into this list. It's a little bit of a longer list, and we're going to talk through each of the shows, where it's ranked. So we're going to go from worst to best. And really, when you think about Disney shows, there is no real worst show. There's not one that's absolutely horrible, but there are ones that we do skip more frequently than others. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. And that's what we're going to talk through. So we're going to start out on our list today with the Pixar Short Film Festival, which is actually over at Epcot. It's in the same building that Figment is in. So the Journey into Imagination. And this is where Captain EO used to be. And again, I said we were going to talk about some of the shows that have been sunset. Obviously, Little Mermaid, we just mentioned a few minutes ago. But Captain EO was an awesome show that was done back in the 80s with Michael Jackson, where he was on a spaceship and fighting a galactic dance battle. And it was really nostalgic. So if you ever had a chance to see it, it was really cool. If you didn't, I'm sure you can probably find a video of it online. I highly recommend it. But it has since been replaced with the Pixar Short Film Festival, which includes a few short Pixar films. They also have a Mickey film in there. It's a good, cute little time. It's really good for the younger kids. It is enjoyable. It's definitely in the AC. But when you think about some of the other entertainment options that we're going to go through here in just a moment, you'll understand why this one was at the bottom of our list. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that there's other shows that are much better than this. So the Pixar Short Film Festival over at Epcot is a good time, but there are other shows that are better than this. On our list is also over at Epcot, and this is Turtle Talk with Crush. And if you've not been into the Living Seas, they have an area in there where you can do Turtle Talk with Crush. And this is a really cool show because it's interactive, meaning when Crush comes up onto the screen, he's going to start talking to the crowd, and he will start picking people out of the crowd and asking them questions or allowing them to ask him questions that he's going to answer about what it's like to be a turtle or living in the sea. It is a really fun show because it is interactive. It's pretty fun to see the little kids in there, but because of that, it is very much geared towards little kids. So if you have anyone that's, I would say 7 or 8 or older, chances are is they're not going to get picked out of the show to interact with Crush a whole lot unless they have a question for him. If he has a question for kids in the audience, he's usually looking for younger kids, and he's going to ask them about their hat or their Mickey ears, things like that, just to enhance that interaction. So it's a lot of fun. It's an enjoyable time. It's short. It's about 15 minutes. So anytime you go in there, if there's a wait, just know that you're going to go into a pre-show lobby, you're going to wait, and then you'll go in. The biggest downside to it is there's not a lot of seating in there. So when you go in, it's just a few benches. Most of the kids obviously are sitting on the floor. So it's not a very relaxing time, but it is a little cute, fun show for about 15 minutes. So if you've never done it, I do recommend you do it when you're in the Living Seas at Epcot, especially if you have really little kids, they're going to get a big kick out of it. Next on our list is over at Magic Kingdom, and it's actually just in line with Turtle Talk with Crush, and that's the Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor. And this is a place where they do comedy shows where Mike Wazowski comes up and tells a few jokes. But like Turtle Talk with Crush, they can see the crowd and they can interact with the crowd, which gives them the opportunity, just like a real live comedy show, to talk to people in the crowd and joke with them and try to converse back and forth with, which makes it, again, highly interactive. Because of that, we absolutely love it. Now, the reason this one beat out Turtle Talk is because it's funny. They do a comedy show and the people that are manning the booth are actually very funny. So again, about a 15-minute show. We highly recommend the Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor over in Tomorrowland. That is a lot of fun, so definitely go check that out. Next on our list, we're going over into Hollywood Studios, and it is Muppet Vision 4D. And if you've not been to the Muppet Show over there in Hollywood Studios, it is backed by Mama Melrose's Italian restaurant, and it's right across from Rizzo's Pizza. And that whole area of the park is themed for the Muppets. And when you go in there, of course, they have a Muppet Show. It is a lot of fun. It is 4D, meaning that not only is it 3D, where you see the screen in 3D, but they have things happening inside the auditorium, like bubbles falling or wind blowing, things like that, that also get your other senses going as well. Now, keep in mind, I am a child of the Muppets. I was born in the late 70s. I grew up in the early 80s, and I absolutely loved the Muppet Show, especially at that time in my life because I was so little. I thought it was a ton of fun. I obviously grew up with Sesame Street as well, which was part of Jim Henson's whole world, but I really loved the Muppets. What I don't like about the Muppet Vision 4D show is it gets a little bit annoying. They bring in a new cartoon character that is not traditionally part of the Muppets. They use that new cartoon character to do some 3D gags, and it's a little bit of an annoying movie. So know that you're going to go in there. It's fun to see the Muppets. It's fun to interact. They have the old men up in the corner. But at the end of the day, the movie's just average. It's not very entertaining. And again, this one runs about every 15 minutes. So it's a good break from the day. If you like the Muppets, I definitely encourage you to go check it out. It did rank higher than some of our other shows. Just know you're going to have an annoying character in the middle of it. Next on our list, and I'll actually probably get a little bit of heat for this one, is the Tiki Room at Magic Kingdom. The reason I'm going to get a little bit of heat is the Tiki Room is one of the original attractions, and it is also very nostalgic, and a lot of people absolutely love the Tiki Room. I will say I, too, love the Tiki Room. I just think that the other shows that are on the list are better than the Tiki Room. Now, with the Tiki Room, it doesn't have backs on the benches, so you're going to just go in and sit on the bench, but you do have 4 sides. There's plenty of seating in there. The shows run about every 20 minutes or so, maybe every 25 minutes. And it's a lot of fun to see the robotic animatronic birds sing and listen to their songs. Of course, there's a thunderstorm that happens. That's always a good time. I love thunderstorms. I think they're very relaxing. So it's a very fun show. I do enjoy it quite a bit. What I enjoy more than the Tiki Room is the Dole Whip that is next door at Aloha Isle. And over in California, obviously, they've got them paired up together very close. For the Dole Whip, it is totally worth it. And you can always get a Dole Whip and go take that in. Of course, if you're waiting 20 minutes for a show, you're probably going to get it eaten before you even get into the auditorium. But the Tiki Room is a fun show. I encourage you to take your kids over there and show them the history of Disney, and especially let them know that when the Tiki Room was first constructed out at Disneyland, because keep in mind, at Disney World in the 70s, it's a reproduction of what's done at Disneyland. This was cutting edge technology back then. And you can even look at how real the birds look and that they move their mouths and their beaks with all of the songs that they're singing. Let your kids know that things weren't like that back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s when the animatronics first came to light and were first built. So it's very cool for that reason, but the Tiki Room is always a good time. Now, if you like birds, next on our list is in that same line. This is over at Animal Kingdom, and it is Up, a great bird adventure. And it is a fun show where you have live birds. They're feeding them. They have them fly around the audience and do interactive sorts of things. And with that, if you have somebody who's afraid of live animals or afraid of birds, you may not want to go there. My wife doesn't love birds, so it's a show that we typically will skip for that reason. But it's cool to see these tropical paradise type birds and see them in person and live and interacting with people. They're beautiful animals. And just anytime you get a chance to see a live animal interact with a human in a professional way like that, I think it's pretty cool. So that's why it made our list, is the Up show over at Animal Kingdom. So check that out. Now, do know that you are going to be sitting under a cover. So if there is rain, you'll be safe from the rain, but you are still outdoors. So it's still going to be very warm. You're going to have the humidity out there. If you're looking to escape that at Animal Kingdom, there's 2 other shows I would recommend over that one. But it is a fun time and it is a pretty quick show. So definitely recommend go check out Up, the Great Bird Adventure. Next on the list, we're going back to Magic Kingdom, is the Hall of Presidents. And if you've not been to the Hall of Presidents, this is over in Colonial America. And they have a show that goes through all of the 40-some presidents that we have had in our history here in the U.S. And they talk about who the president is, the office of the president, and then they have each of the presidents through their animatronic self stand up and introduce themselves. This is a 20-some minute show, so it's not too terribly long. I will say for younger people in your crowd, it is going to be very boring. They are not going to enjoy it. But for adults, if you like American history and you want a chance to see what all of the presidents looked like and just see how many there are, because there's a ton, it is a really cool experience to do at least once and to see all of them introduce themselves, and you get a better idea. Maybe you heard the name, but you didn't know what they look like Grover Cleveland, for example. That's a good one that a lot of people don't talk about. You get to see him in the show. So I would highly recommend the Hall of Presidents. Again, this is indoors. It is in air conditioning. The auditorium is huge. It seats a ton of people. So it's a great way to escape the heat if you ever want to do that. Next, over at Magic Kingdom as well, is the Carousel of Progress. And this is over in the corner of Tomorrowland, not too far away from Space Mountain. There is a large cylinder building, and the building is always moving. So if you walk over and you see a building that's twisting, that is the Carousel of Progress. This is a show actually that we had skipped more often than not. And this last time we went to Disney World and Magic Kingdom, we said, hey, we want to do some of the stuff we've never done. So we did the Carousel of Progress. It was actually really entertaining. And the way that it moves around, you can see all the different eras and all the different technology that was coming around. And they show the family interacting with one another using the technology, which was really cool. So I will say the Carousel of Progress is something that I won't do every single time I go to Magic Kingdom, but it is definitely something, if somebody's never seen it before, I will take them to go see. And it's a quick little trip around the history of technology. So Carousel of Progress is definitely something you want to stop and see if you've never done it before. Once you've done it, if you want to skip it, you can. Along those same lines, but a little bit more important, over at Epcot, back again in Colonial America, so this is in the back of the World Showcase, they have the American Adventure. And this show is very comparable to the Hall of Presidents, but I think it is so much better. This show is on par with Mr. Lincoln out in Disneyland in Anaheim. This show just talks about the history of America and where we've come from and where we're at. And it is really eye-opening to see all the way back from the very beginnings to where we're at today. So the American Adventure is a great show. It's only about 20 minutes long as well. So it's very quick. You can go in there. It is on a very steep slope. So know that when you go in. So if you have somebody who needs assistance, who is in a walker or has a cane, they may need some assistance because it is very steep. They obviously have handicap accessible seating. You're going to want to let someone know, but it is a great show. So I highly encourage you guys to go see that one too. Next on our list, we're about halfway now, is at Animal Kingdom. And this is one that we try to hit every single time. And that is It's Tough to Be a Bug. And this is on the center Discovery Island section of Animal Kingdom next to the large tree. And in fact, you're underneath the large tree when you go to see the movie. And it is done based on a bug's life where Flick the ant is going to give you a sample of what it's like to be a bug. And you get cool 3D glasses that have little antennae on them and your honorary ants for a little bit. And you're going to go in there and he's going to take you through some stuff. Now, this is in fact a 4D show, though they don't advertise it that way, meaning that you're going to get some special effects that happen inside the auditorium that are a lot of fun. I will say for some little kids, it can be very scary. So please be aware of that. You do have, and I don't want to spoil things for people, but I do want people to go in aware of what's going to happen. You do have black widow spiders that come down from the ceiling. They do spray some bug spray that smells really bad, but of course it's totally safe. But they do have a few different elements that can be a little bit more intense for the little kids, especially the spiders. So be aware of that. But this show's a lot of fun. It is also very short. It's only about 10 or 15 minutes long. And it's so interactive and there's so many cool things that happen. That's why we like going to this show. So It's Tough to Be a Bug over Animal Kingdom. That is one I would say definitely do not miss because it's so quick and Animal Kingdom doesn't have a ton of attractions. Next on the list is still over at Animal Kingdom, and this is Finding Nemo, Big Blue World. And this show is actually really cool. It's one of my favorites over at Animal Kingdom. And it is basically an undersea adventure with Nemo. All the actors are skating around on roller skates or on bikes, and they're doing puppetry. Now, I will say they used to do a lot of roller skating back in the day. Now there's less. Now there's a bike that goes through. So they've changed it up a little bit. But it is a really cool show with how they did the Stingray and how they did Nemo and all the different characters within the show there. So Finding Nemo, Big Blue World. I will also say it's a large auditorium that is air conditioned. More often than not, you will find if you see me in there, I will be taking a nap. It is very dark in there once they start the show. And just being in a dark, cool environment in the middle of the day, and because we usually do Animal Kingdom later in the week, I am worn out and you will see me nod off. So a lot of parents are doing that as well. Don't feel bad if you do, but if you're able to watch the show, it's great. They've got great music and it's a lot of fun. Next on my list, this one is so fun to talk about. And it is because so many people would rank it at the absolute bottom of their list. And they would say this is the absolute worst show at any Disney park ever. And I absolutely love it, as does my wife. And she would argue this should be in the top 2 or 3. And that is at Magic Kingdom, the Country Bear Jamboree. Now, I will tell you already, the Country Bear Jamboree at Magic Kingdom in Orlando is different than the Country Bear Jamboree out at Disneyland in Anaheim. In Orlando, it's a short, about 15-minute show. It goes very quick. The bears all get up there and sing. But there is this one scene that is completely bananas. And this bear gets up there and starts singing about blood everywhere and blood on the sand. And don't get me wrong, it's not inappropriate. It's not bad for the little kids. He is just a backwoods bear and he's just nutty. And when you hear this song, it's just so out of tone for Disney and out of tone for the show. It's weird. It feels weird. But because of that, it's funny. So that's why we really like Country Bear Jamboree. And in fact, this last time we went, my wife's, we're going every time. We're going to go watch this show every time because it's so fun and so funny. So it made it about 2/3 of the way up our list. So Country Bear Jamboree, go check it out. Know that there's an oddball song towards the end, but we absolutely love it. Next on our list, and we are now down to the top 7 after Country Bear Jamboree, is our first nighttime show. And this is Epcot's Harmonious. And this is coming back right now as we speak in 2023. And it was the show that they used to do a while ago, and it's only back for a limited time. So because of that, it is very nostalgic. It, of course, will change over time, but they do it over the World Showcase Water. And so you can see it from all the way around. It's a really cool show with lots of fireworks, great music, and it's very entertaining. Now, if you've been to Epcot, you know that it is the second largest park. It's actually probably the largest for actual foot traffic as you're walking around. So you're going to get a ton of steps in at Epcot. So not a lot of people stay for the nighttime show, but because there's so much room to see it, you're not fighting for a place to watch. So you can pretty much watch it from anywhere in the World Showcase. This is a good show, but I will say there are still 6 shows better than this, including 2 other nighttime shows. So know that if there's a nighttime show you're going to skip, this is probably the one I would skip. Now, prior to 2023, they used to do a nighttime show over at Animal Kingdom where they did a Rivers of Light where these huge lily pad-like things would come out with lit up things on top. It was homage to the Electric Parade back at Magic Kingdom, but they did it with animals and it was cool. It was nice. We've stayed and watched it before, but it didn't knock our socks off. So this would be in line with that. Harmonious is great. It just doesn't knock our socks off. It's a fun show. Now, over at Animal Kingdom, what they've done to replace it, since they don't have their nighttime show, is throughout the day they do kites. And these kites are behind jet skis or behind boats, and they're huge. And you'll have Simba from The Lion King behind a boat, or Zazu or something like that. And they'll drive them around the little lagoon there, and you'll get to see those. So that's cool, but they do not have a nighttime show anymore at Animal Kingdom. But things always change, so that could definitely come back. Our number 6 show is over at Hollywood Studios, and that is Beauty and the Beast. And this is a live on stage show. Now, the auditorium's huge, so there's a ton of seating. Again, bench seats, but in this auditorium there, it is still outdoors, but has a covering. So know that you're not going to totally escape the heat. But they do an abridged version of Beauty and the Beast. It's about 20 some minutes long. It is absolutely fantastic. The song and the singing and the dancing is awesome. They go through most of the theme songs that you're very familiar with. They have some cool special effects with the beast and whatnot, but it is a very quick show. Out of our entire list here, this is the best example of what a Disney Broadway show is like, because it's, in essence, they took the Broadway show and they trimmed it down to make it a quick show. So Beauty and the Beast is one that I would never miss. I would hit that every single time, and it is a ton of fun. Number 5 on our list is back over at Animal Kingdom, and this is the Festival of the Lion King. This show is awesome. There are 4 sides to the show, so when you go in, there's plenty of seating. You'll be moved around to one of those 4 sides. Again, no backs on the benches, but it is indoors, so you're going to get out of the sun for a little bit. And they bring in huge parade float type things with all the characters from The Lion King, most of which are animatronic, and they sing and dance around it, and they just have a ton of fun. So if you're looking for an energetic show that's just a lot of fun and very active, it is the Festival of the Lion King. Many people would argue that this is, in fact, the top show that you can see at Disney World in Orlando. And I do agree it is up towards the top. It's number 5 on our list. I do think that there's a few that are a little bit better, and people will be mad that I say that. But I will say The Lion King is awesome. So don't miss it at all. You definitely want to go check that one out. Number 4 on our list is back over at Hollywood Studios. And this is one that people would probably score a lot lower, but it is the Frozen Sing-Along. And the reason I love the Frozen Sing-Along is for multiple reasons. But number 1 is it is done by 2 people that are citizens of Arendelle, and they are absolutely hilarious. They have tons of one-liners. They are shooting jokes back and forth at each other about the movie and things that the kids would mostly understand more often than not. And they are very entertaining in hosting this show. And then, of course, through the time that you're in there, they're going to play different theme music from Frozen, and they're going to sing the national anthems of all the songs, and they want the audience to sing along. Now, you all know Let It Go. Your kids have seen Frozen 100 times. So it's fun to hear all the kids start singing Let It Go together, and then to see some of the parents also get involved and sing very loud. It's just an enjoyable time. And then again, they do some fun elements inside the theater. It's nice and dark and cool in there. You have really nice seating. So all the seats have backs, which I absolutely love. And it's just a really good time at the Frozen Sing-Along, which is why it made number 4 on our list. This is one that we typically skip more often than not, just because there's so much to see at Hollywood Studios and we want to get it all in. But if you get the chance, you definitely want to go check out the Frozen sing-along. Number 3 on my list is at the same place at Hollywood Studios, and that is the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular Show. And that one is fantastic. It is absolutely awesome. Now, if you're a fan of Indiana Jones, this one takes scenes out of Raiders of the Lost Ark. It does something from the intro. It does a big fight scene, and actually it does a couple different fight scenes. But it is a ton of fun to see how they do the stunts and to relive Indiana Jones. This is one of the largest auditoriums at Disney World in Orlando, so it seats a ton of people. It will fill up, so you do want to get there early to get a good seat, but it is just a ton of fun. Most kids are going to really enjoy this one as well, even though it may not be a movie they're familiar with, just because of all the action that takes place during the show. So you definitely want to check that one out. Do be aware there are a lot of fire stunts used, so they have a lot of explosions and gasoline that blows up and stuff like that. So it does get a little bit warm when that happens. And if you have little kids, they may be frightened by that. But we've been taking our daughter since she was a newborn, and she absolutely loves it as well. So the Indiana Jones show is one that I would say do not miss. You definitely want to go check it out. The only downside to the Indiana Jones show is it never changes. So if you have seen it once or twice, or like us, a few dozen times, then at that point, we're now to the point where we just go just by ourselves as our family. We will skip it just because it's the exact same every single time, to the point we already know all the tricks and what they're going to do during the show. But if you've never been, you definitely want to check it out, and I highly recommend it. That brings us now to our number 2 show at all of Disney World in Orlando, and that is Fantasmic. And this is a nighttime show that happens at Hollywood Studios, back up behind where Beauty and the Beast is, and it has its own water-based auditorium. Now, Fantasmic is a show that they also do at Disneyland in Anaheim, and it is one of my all-time favorite shows. The best part about Fantasmic is it is very nostalgic in the sense that it is done back, I believe in the 90s is when it first came out at Disneyland. And it is just a hoot. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of Disney characters, tons of fireworks, a lot of action in the show. But what I love about it is when they bring characters out on boats and they parade them in front of you, they can update it. They can always add new characters or that hot new thing that's going on to those boats. There's nothing that says that these certain characters have to be on the boats. So that's what I love about Fantasmic, is it's always being updated. Now, during COVID, it did go away, and it just returned back in late 2022 back to Hollywood Studios. The downside, of course, is if you're going to be there all day, it can't go till it's at night because it's a fireworks show. So during the summer, that's going to be very late. If you're there during the winter months, you're in luck because they're going to do it a lot earlier. But Fantasmic is one that if you are at Hollywood Studios, do not miss it. It is a fantastic show. It is a lot of fun and great fireworks, and you get to see Mickey take on some villains, and that's just awesome. So go check out Fantasmic next time you're at Hollywood Studios. Which now brings me to our number 1 show at all of Disney World, and this is at Magic Kingdom, and they are bringing back my all-time favorite, Happily Ever After. And this is the nighttime fireworks show that takes place on the castle, and it is amazing. If you love Disney, you are going to be in tears when you see this. It is just so heartwarming. It definitely pulls at all the heartstrings. Happily Ever After is all about relationships and love and how we interact with people in our lives. And they do everything from couples to showing Dumbo and Dumbo's mom, which I absolutely love Dumbo, and all of those different elements. And it is so much fun. Happily Ever After has the best music that they've had at a nighttime show since they did the Wishes show that started off with Julie Andrews, and then she took people through the park. Now, Happily Ever After, though, takes it a step further than a fireworks show because they light up the castle with these high definition projectors, and they completely change the look and the feel of Cinderella's castle at Disney World. It is amazing. So I definitely encourage you to watch it. You do want to be seated back a little bit. You don't want to be right up against the castle so you can see it all. We recommend trying to get a spot in the front of the circle that's on the side towards the castle. And that circle in the middle of the Main Street area there has a little bit of a slope on it. So it helps your feet, and it helps you to sit if you wanted to sit down as well and watch that show. To get a seat there, though, you're usually going to need to be there about 2 hours early. And when you go about 2 hours early, you'll start to see them roping it off and taping it off, and you'll start to see people getting their seats. So I recommend if you have someone in your party who can save a lot of seats, have them do that. Of course, put backpacks, coats down, things like that so that you can spread out and get your seats. But know that within about 45 minutes of the show, you are not going to be able to come or go to that crowd. So if you're not back by then, you're not going to get back in there. So Happily Ever After is the most popular show. Everybody in the park is watching it, and it's fantastic. Now, unfortunately, if you were there during the 50th anniversary, they did a different show, and I will tell you, it was terrible. We saw this show during the 4th of July weekend during 2022, and we were so disappointed in the show. They took all the heart out of Disney. They took all the emotion out of it, and they just went a completely different way, and I hated it. Now, with Happily Ever After coming back, they did that because of the demand of the people, of the pass holders, and of those that were going, that said Happily Ever After was a more heartwarming show. It was more fun. It was more emotional. It just would pull at your heartstrings. And it really ties into Disney, where the 50th anniversary show just sucked. I'll be honest, it was terrible. Be glad that one's over now and that we are going back to Happily Ever After. Of course, as things go forward in time, Happily Ever After may not always be the show that is on display. They may change that in the future. And if they do, know that with the technology they've got now, hopefully they'll just continue to up their game and it will continue to get better. With that, we don't have any tips of the day for you other than the fact of where I told you where to stand for the Happily Ever After show. I will say for the most part, most of the shows, because they're continuously running, you can show up anytime during the day and you're going to get it in the next 15 or 20 minutes. The nighttime shows are the only ones that I would say get there early to make sure that you get a good seat for them. But you definitely want to check out the shows. They are absolutely amazing and you will be blown away with how good they are. With that, we wish you a happy week while you're planning your next vacation, and we will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.